come to our next wonderful chapter, Ind AS 20. What is Ind AS 20? Accounting for government grants and disclosure of government assistance. Accounting for government grant and disclosure of government assistance. So first of all, tell me, do you have similar standard in accounting standards? A similar standard was there in accounting standard also. What was the number? I forgot. Ind AS 12. In accounting standard, it is not Ind AS 12, it is AS 12. And what was the name? Accounting for government grant. This standard name is accounting for government grant. Up to that it is same, but this standard also has one more point to be covered, that is disclosure of government assistance. Disclosure of government assistance. So what is the difference between government grant and government assistance as per this standard? Government grant means there is a monetary benefit to it, you can quantify it, and since you can quantify it in monetary terms, you can account for it. You can account for it. Government gives you a license, either free of cost or at a nominal value. So there is a monetary value to it. But the government helps you to find a customer in, say, America. It is an assistance. It is an assistance. So those assistance cannot have a monetary value. You can't put a money value of that assistance. Then it becomes government assistance. But because you have benefited from government assistance, you need to disclose it. You need to disclose it. What are the different types of assistance government has provided you? Because it might have helped your entity. It might have given you some advantage. So that needs to be disclosed. So we will discuss in detail the accounting treatment for government grant and what are the disclosures requirement for government assistance. So this chapter is applicable to few entities only who either get government grant or who get government assistance. So the receipt of the government assistance by an entity may be significant for the preparation of financial statement for two reasons. Now the question is, when you receive government grant, what should be the treatment? Should it be transferred to P&L account? Should it be transferred to some reserve directly in the statement of changes in equity like capital reserve, or should it be deferred and then written off in P&L account over a period of time, or should it be reduced from the carrying amount of PPE? Depending upon what presentation and accounting you choose, your financial statement will be affected. Your financial statement will be affected. For example, if it should have been deferred, but you have credited the P&L account, your profit and loss account will suddenly show a huge profit for this year. Suddenly it will go up, okay? And so therefore the standard will guide you when you will transfer the entire amount to P&L account, when will you defer, or can you credit the PP account. So that guidance is given so that every entity who receives similar grant will do a similar type of accounting, so that financial statement of different entities are also comparable and financial statement of the same entity is comparable with its previous years also. Firstly, if resources have been transferred, an appropriate method of accounting for transfer of funds must be found. So government grant can come in the form of cash or in the form of kind. Whether it is cash or in kind, It is a form of resource that you have received. Sometimes government grant can be in the form of waiver of loan. Do you know loan waiver schemes? You have taken a loan from SBI. Government says 30% is waived. 30% is waived means SBI is not going to waive. Government will pay 30% to SBI. SBI will waive your 30%. That is also a form of government grant. So don't you think it has to be reported and presented properly, accounted properly, so that one can understand the effect of that government grant in the P&L account and in the balance sheet? Because if you are doing the performance evaluation, this kind of information is really important. Secondly, it is desirable to give an indication of the extent to which entity has benefited from such assistance during the reporting period. So disclose government assistance that you have received, because this you are not going to repeat every year. This is not going to be repeated every year. Am I right? Every year government grant will not come. Every year government assistance may not come. Plus this is some additional advantage you are getting compared to other entities. So if I am comparing the performance of different entities, I must know that this entity has got some government assistance, whereas the other entity does not have that government assistance. Last year performance with this year performance. And we can also use it for projecting the future income also, because in future this grant, this assistance may not be there. So if the current profit is 100 crore, which includes 20 crore government grant, that does not mean next year it will be 100 crore again, because that grant may not be available next year. So this kind of information is useful for the users of the financial statement. So this standard will serve two purposes. It will help us to compare the performance of an entity with its previous years also. Like previous year the profit was 40 crore, this year the profit is 55 crore. What you will think, oh, the profit has gone up by 55 crore, by 15 crore in 1 year. Wonderful, wonderful. But you don't know that out of 55, 18 crore was some form of government grant. Let us say some form of government grant, 18 crore which you have credited to P&L account. So actually speaking, if I remove this 18 crore, how much is that? 55 minus 18? 37 crore. Your performance has actually gone down. Excluding the government grant, your performance has gone down. So knowing this, it will be useful for the users to understand the performance of this year. And same way, you can compare with other peer groups, other entities. This company's profit is 55 crore, other companies 45, but this company has received a grant of 18 crore which was credited to P&L account. So it becomes easy for you to understand the genuine performance of the two entities. Because in case of grant, what happens? You receive from the government some amount, but you don't transfer resources to the government. Then that becomes a normal commercial transaction. When I take 100 rupees from you, I give this pen to you which is market value of 100 rupees. There is a quid pro quo. We are paying and receiving same thing. But in case of grant, government gives you 10 lakh. You don't give anything worth 10 lakh back to the government. Sometimes the government gives you property of 20 lakh, but you give only 1 lakh rupees nominal amount. So then also we are getting some benefit, right? So that is why this standard is important. Ind AS 20 specifies appropriate accounting treatment and disclosure requirement for government grant and other form of assistance. So the standard will deal with these two things. What is the accounting treatment of government grant? Disclosures not only related to government grant but also any other form of assistance. So accounting and disclosure of government grant is covered by Ind AS 20, and only disclosure of government assistance is covered by Ind AS 20. You will ask, why not accounting and disclosure? Because there is no monetary value. If it has a monetary value, it will become government grant. If it has a monetary value, it will become a government grant. Now I will come to the standard. 2-3 important definitions we will see. First is the definition of government itself. What is government? Most funniest definition. Government refers to government. Government means government. Okay. Even the standard setter is scared of defining a government. Who knows? CBI, ED, narcotics department will come after you if you try to define the government. Government refers to government. Government refers to government agencies. Like this Geological Survey of India is there, government agency. Similar bodies, whether local, national or international. So even this Pune Mahanagarpalika is also government. It's a local body, okay, which looks after welfare of Pune's public. World Health Organization. Have you heard World Health Organization? Every now and then we hear, okay, that is also an international agency. So government will include national, state, local government, and it includes national and international bodies like UNO. Have you heard UNO? UNO, full form, UNO. You're a student on the first bench, UN. United Nations Organization, okay. WHO, World Health Organization, UNICEF, don't know, ILO, International Labour Organization, very popular, UNICEF for children, United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, because they try to promote the well-being of all children across the globe, okay. So these are some popular international agencies. All these are organs of UNO only, looking after each specific area. So if you receive grant from them also, that is also government grant. Or Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Have you heard Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? That is also, if you receive some grant for them to carry out some vaccination program, they give say 20 crore rupees to an entity, use that money to provide vaccination, then that is also covered by this standard. Is it right? So many enterprises are receiving grants from state government, central government, local government, different types of national and international bodies. Now those entities will follow Ind AS 20 for all those grants they have received. Okay. Next question is, what are government grants? Government grants are assistance by the government in the form of transfer of resources. So when there is a transfer of resources, we will call it grant. And when the government provides assistance but it does not involve transfer of resources, we will just call it government assistance to an entity. Now government grant does not come free of cost. For past or future compliance. For past or future compliance. What do you mean by past or future? Either you have complied with the conditions. The condition is you set up a factory in a backward area. They have designated backward areas where if you set up your factory business, you will get some grant. So once your factory is set up, they will go and check, they will do the inspection. Once it is proved that yes, you have complied with all the condition, government will release the funds, grant. Sometimes they will give you the grant first and then you have to comply with the condition. So grant given for vaccination, that government will give you 200 crore rupees, you have to provide vaccine to crores of people. But that is first you receive the money and then you start applying that money for vaccination programs. So that is also possible. First receive grant, then comply with the condition. But in both cases, one thing is common, condition. Either it is compliance of past condition and then you get the grant, or you will comply with future conditions and then get the grant in relation to underline the operating activity of the entity. So I will read the whole definition again, it has a lot of critical words. Government grants are assistance by the government in the form of transfer of resources in return for past or future compliance with certain conditions relating to operating activities of the entity, relating to what you are doing, then it is a government grant. Government grant means assistance given to the entity whose monetary value can be placed. What is the difference between grant and assistance? In case of grant, the monetary value can be identified. This excludes those form of government assistance that cannot reasonably have a value placed upon them. So government grant will not include assistance where monetary value cannot be calculated. Okay, like government helps you to identify suppliers in foreign countries, because government has got embassies all over the world. Government has got lot of connections, so they can give some assistance to you to identify supplier, customer. But do you have a monetary value for that? Not possible. Then in that case, maybe you can just disclose it as an assistance rather than account for it. And second thing, what is not included in grant? Normal trading transaction. Normal trading transactions with the government. What do you mean by normal trading transactions with the government? Suppose you supply food to a government canteen or government department, you supply uniform to military, okay, you supply weapons to defense department of the government, all these are at normal market price. Normal market price. Yes or no? Food, cloth, weapon, construction material at normal market price. Will you discuss them under this standard or respective standard? Respective standard. Whatever is that item, accordingly we will apply the respective standard. Not under this standard, because there is no grant element involved. We are giving them food of 100 rupees, they are paying me 100 rupees. We are supplying them uniform of 1 crore rupees, they are also paying me 1 crore rupees. So where is the grant involved? So these items are not government grant. What is government assistance? Government assistance means action designated to provide economic benefit specific to an entity. Underline the word specific. Economic benefit specific to an entity or a range of entities qualifying under certain criteria. Action by the government designed to provide some kind of economic benefit to either one single entity or a range of entities. A range of entities, for example, it can be vaccine manufacturers. It can be vaccine manufacturers. Similar set of companies. And the government says, okay, we will negotiate with the USA and we will help you to get patent waiver. So government is negotiating with USA that please waive the patent requirement so that we Indians can also manufacture vaccines. So that will help whom? Some entities who are into this kind of business. It will not help me. What I am doing, I am teaching this FR subject. Will it help Tata Motors Limited manufacturing car? No. Hindustan Lever Limited? No. But only selected. So then they will disclose that yes, we have received this form of assistance from the government. Or they may promote khadi industry. Okay. So that is also a particular group of set of entities. So they promote khadi, they promote a certain type of fertilizer companies, pharma companies. Then it is assistance. Assistance means whose value cannot be placed. Value cannot be placed. So government is helping you to get a patent waiver. And if you can't place a monetary value for that, then you just disclose it as an assistance. Government is helping you to find a supplier in Tanzania. Where? Tanzania. Have you heard also? So some country in South America or South Africa, I don't know. South Africa. Africa. But you don't know people there. So government has an embassy there. So they may help you. So it is an assistance. But because you have got some benefit from the government, need to disclose because you got an advantage. Example of government assistance, favorable government procurement policy. Favorable government procurement policy means government is going to procure from a certain type of entities only. Is it right? Then it is going to help those entities because government gives them preference in purchases or government stake buyout in a company. Government purchases the stake in a company. Is it a government grant? No, it is a government assistance. Government assistance for the purpose of this standard does not include, underline the word does not include. What is not included? Benefits provided only indirectly through action affecting general trading condition. General trading condition means suppose government constructs a road, okay, and this road is going to benefit hundreds of entities on both sides of the road. Is it for a particular entity? No. For a specific set of entities? No. Anybody can use that road, highway. So therefore, it is not assistance. Outside the scope of this chapter, government constructs airport. This helps business enterprises. Yes or no? Port, airport, power. But they help all enterprises, not a specific entity or a specific set of entities. So in that case, no need to give disclosure. You don't have to write in your annual report, government has constructed airport in our city. Okay, that is too much. Unnecessary extra information also does not help the users, such as provision of infrastructure in development areas or the imposition of trading restriction on the competitors. Suppose government in general bans Chinese product in general, then this is a general benefit. Government increases the import tariff on Chinese product, This is in general, it is going to benefit you. How it is going to benefit you and so many other entities? Because now your product will become competitive. By raising tariff, Chinese product will become expensive. But that will affect all the companies in the country. Those who are producing that product, everybody will be benefited from that. So these are not government assistance. Ind AS 20 does not deal with. So there is a scope exclusion. What do you mean by scope exclusion? That it is not applicable. So keep this in mind. This government assistance in the form of benefits that are available in determining taxable profits. Ind AS 20 does not deal with any tax benefit given under the Income Tax Act. Like for example, under Income Tax Act, some entities are given tax holidays. Is it covered by Ind AS 12? No. It is going to be covered by respective standard on taxation. Reduced tax rate. Some entities may be allowed reduced tax. Some entities are allowed accelerated depreciation. Do you know there is a 100% depreciation in the first year? In fact, I have also heard there is some 125% depreciation also. Is it true? My God, 150 also. My God, you buy asset of 100 and you get 150 rupees depreciation. Is it covered by this standard? The answer is no. We are not bothered about those income tax benefit under income tax law. If the government is owner of an entity, it is holding share capital of a company, it is not in the scope of this standard. If the government provides benefits indirectly, that is, it will help in general all the enterprises already discussed, like infrastructure for backward area, general transport communication network, imposing trading restriction. So general will not be covered, specific will be covered. Okay. Point 4, when the value of the resources transferred by the government is not reasonably determinable, such grants are not recognized as government grant, like free technical or marketing advice and the provision of guarantee. So this will not be treated as government grant. But they may be assistance if it is specific to the entity. Then normal trading transaction. Okay. Normal trading transaction with the government is not government grant. Example, government procurement policy. Then special problem arising in accounting for government grant in financial statement reflecting the effect of changing prices or in supplementary information of a similar nature. So this is called inflation related accounting, not covered by this standard. Not covered by this standard. So these are the areas where this standard is not applicable. One more, government grant relating to agriculture. Which standard is specifically for that? 41. Because then there are some critical points to be discussed. So that will be covered by Ind AS 41, government grant relating to agriculture. Next is determination of the nature of assistance. Okay, come to next paragraph 8, determination of the nature of assistance. So whether you will follow government grant accounting, whether you will disclose it as a government assistance, let us see. An action by the government that results in economic benefit to an entity or a range of entities qualifying under certain criteria will come under the gamut of government assistance. Government action will help one entity or a range of entities which fulfill certain criteria. This assistance, when it involves transfer of resources, assistance plus transfer of resources, assistance which can be monetized, then they will be called government grant. The manner in which the grant is received does not affect the accounting method to be adopted. The manner in which grant is received means the grant can be in the form of cash, direct cash transfer, and it can be in the form of kind. Example, government may give you PPE, government may give you land, government may give you license, intangible asset, government may give you patent, okay, some rights, different types of rights, broadcasting right, telecasting right, airport landing rights, mining rights, okay, then these are also under this standard. So this standard will include both type of grant, grant in cash, grant in kind. Thus a grant is accounted in the same manner whether it is received in cash or kind or as a reduction in the liability also. A reduction in the liability also is a form of grant. As we have discussed, suppose loan is taken and the government gives you waiver. You had to pay 100 lakhs rupees. Government waives 30%. Then this is also a form of grant. Okay, will be covered by this standard. The above grant which are not recognized and those government assistance which do not involve transfer of resources will be disclosed as government assistance benefiting the entity. So in the last 8 paragraph we have only discussed the basics. What is grant, what is assistance. Now we'll come to the accounting part. Recognition of government grant. Recognition means when will you recognize the grant in the books of account. Is it right? So I am going to ask you a question. Tell me, when will you recognize grant in the books of account? Basic knowledge of your accounts. Accrual basis or receipt basis? Accrual means even if you have not received it, but you can receive it, so we will recognize grant receivable to government grant account. Receipt basis means only after the government gives me asset or cash account debit to government grant account. Accrual basis, accrual, okay. So the answer depends on whether there is a reasonable assurance. Accrual is right, but there must be reasonable assurance. Reasonable assurance means more than 50% assurance, not 100%, but on a higher side, that the entity would comply with the conditions attached to the grant. First condition is that if the grant is subject to certain condition, the entity should comply with the conditions attached to the grant, and there must be more than 50% probability that the company would be in a position to comply with the conditions attached to the grant. And second, there should be more than 50% probability that the grant will be received. So if you have more than 50% probability that company will comply with the condition and more than 50% probability that the grant will be received, then you can recognize on accrual basis. But if suppose the probability for both or at least one of them is less than 50%, then don't recognize the government grant. If any of the above conditions is not satisfied, any of the above, like there is a less than 50% chance that you will comply with the condition, don't recognize the government grant. Okay, government grant will not be recorded in the books. Then wait for the condition to be satisfied and then recognize the government grant. Government grants are known by other names also, like it can be called subsidy, which you know very popularly named subsidy, duty drawback. This is basically for exporters. If you have imported goods, again you export it, the duty which you pay on import will be set off against duty payable on export. So that is also a form of grant, or some other names like subvention. So these are different names. So whatever name they give you in your question, duty drawback, subsidy, subvention or grant, they mean government grant, and accordingly the accounting will be done. It is same treatment whatever name you call it. So this is a small summary of when should you recognize a government grant. When there is a reasonable assurance, means probability is more than 50%. Virtual certainty means probability is say 100% or at least close to, very close to 100%. Reasonable assurance, reasonable certainty means the probability is more than 50% that entity will comply with the conditions and the grant will be received. Because when you are dealing with the government, you have to be careful, because government may promise something and deliver something else. So therefore they have added a condition that there is a 50% or more chance that the grant will be received. So in a country like India, where the governments are changing frequently, what previous government may have promised to pay, the new government may not pay. Okay, so be careful. Mere receipt does not necessarily mean that the conditions associated with the grant are complied with. So sometimes government may give you a grant. Government say, okay, we are in a hurry, please take this 100 crore and vaccinate crores of people. Because you said, I will do the work only if I get the money first. So government says, okay, I'll give you money, but start the work fast. Now what happened? Is it necessary that you will be able to comply with the condition? Receipt of money is not more than 50% certainty that condition will be complied with. That has to be checked separately. That has to be checked separately. So till that time, if you receive 100 crore, just keep it as a liability in the balance sheet. Bank account debit to government grant, and this government grant 100 crore will appear in the balance sheet as a liability. Only once you start complying with the conditions, then it will be transferred to, let's say, P&L account or any other account which we will discuss. Accounting entry we have not discussed. But I am telling you, if you receive the grant in advance, that does not assure that conditions will be complied with. Once a government grant is recognized, any related contingent liability is treated as per Ind AS 37. Once you have recognized the grant, there is a possibility that you may not be able to fulfill all the conditions of the grant. Okay, you may have to refund the grant. You may be required to refund the grant. In that case, any such contingent liability like refunding the grant will be discussed under, covered under Ind AS 37. What is the name of Ind AS 37? I forgot. Contingent asset, contingent liability and provision. Not in that order, okay, but it was okay. That is the name you have given. Most people say like that only. In any sequence they say provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent asset. Approaches to government grant. Now there is a paragraph which is for intellectual discussion. Those who are intellectual will pay attention. Otherwise ignore this paragraph for exam purpose. Approaches to the government grant. That is, the question is, the debate is, debate is, where should government grant be taken? Directly to capital reserve or directly to SOCIE as a part of shareholders' money, or it should be routed through P&L account. This is called capital approach. This is called income approach. So is grant a capital receipt or is grant a revenue receipt? That is a very debatable issue. So therefore the standard also talks about this, and then I will give you the answer what we have to do. There are two broad approaches to accounting for government grant. One is called capital approach. Directly you take it in SOCIE without routing through P&L account. Okay. And the second approach is called income approach, where the grant is routed through P&L account. So it will get appeared in your P&L account, under which a grant is recognized in P&L account over one or more period. So fully it can be recognized in 1 year in some cases, and in some cases it is deferred and then proportionate amount is recognized every year. What are the arguments in favor of capital approach? That is, those who are believing that grant should not be taken to P&L account, rather it should be directly taken in SOCIE. Okay, the reason is that government grants are a financing device. Government grant is nothing but a form of finance and should be dealt as such in the balance sheet. So they are saying, suppose I issue equity share, suppose I issue debenture, suppose I take a bank loan, do I take it in P&L account or directly balance sheet? Directly balance sheet. So same thing is happening here also, na? Government is indirectly providing you the finance. So therefore it should be dealt in balance sheet rather than P&L account to offset the item of expense that they finance, because no repayment is expected. Another reason is, do I have to repay government grant? No. Therefore such grant is outside the P&L account. And second is, it is inappropriate to recognize government grant in P&L account because they are not earned. What is P&L account? Income and expense. Income is you have earned something, you have taken efforts to earn that amount, but government grant is not earned, it is gratuitous. It is out of the free will of the government that they are giving you this money without any corresponding effort taken by you. Therefore, it is just an incentive without any related cost. Hence, it should not be taken to P&L account. But there is another group of people who are believing that grant should be routed through P&L account. Why? Government grants are a receipt from a source other than shareholder. What an idea. It is not a shareholder who is giving me money. If shareholders give me money, then I will take it to balance sheet, associate. It is from other source, and they should not be therefore directly recognized in equity, but should be recognized in the P&L account in appropriate period. Second argument is, who says government grant is free of cost? Who says government grant is gratuitous, means free of cost? Is it free of cost? No. Government grant comes with some kind of conditions attached. You follow this, we'll do this. You vaccinate 10 lakh people, I'll give you 10 crore rupees. You set up your factory in a backward area. There is a cost of setting up my factory in a backward area because I will find difficulty in getting electricity, talented human resource. So there is a cost involved. There is an infrastructural problem. On top of that, you are asking me to go and set up my factory. So it's not free of cost. I have done something, then I am getting it, getting a grant against it. So therefore, I have earned the grant. I have earned the grant because government gave me grant only if I fulfill some conditions. So therefore it is not free. I have earned it by complying with the condition and meeting the whatever envisaged obligation. And then there are cost of meeting the conditions also. Like if you get vaccine, if you have to vaccinate 100 people, there is a cost of that. So they should therefore be recognized in P&L account over the period in which the entity recognizes the expenses, the related cost for which grant is intended to compensate. So then this argument is matching concept. I have to incur expenses to comply with the condition. So if I am booking expenses, I must also book the income in the same period. And because income and taxes are expenses, income and other taxes are expenses, income tax and other taxes are expenses, it is logical also that government grant which are in the extension of fiscal policy should be recognized in P&L account. See how do they debate? They are saying income tax is recognized in P&L account. What is income tax? It is a part of the fiscal policy of the government. It is not an expense of the entity, really speaking. Are you buying some goods or service? No. You are paying a tax to the government because the law of the country requires, and that you are charging to P&L account. So grant, subsidy are also a form of fiscal policy of the government which says these benefits will be given to the entities. So don't you think that should also be transferred to P&L account? If income tax is charged to P&L account, grant, which is a negative income tax, you can say, income tax I pay to the government, grant, government pays me. So that should also be taken to P&L account. That is the argument. So what is this standard saying? This standard is for income approach. Ind AS 20 is for income approach, means grants are routed through P&L account, either entire grant in the same year or over a period of time. So that is the approach taken by this standard. If you read AS 12, why I did this discussion? AS 12 has two approaches, capital approach also, income approach. Because in AS 12 you have studied grant in the nature of promoter's contribution are credited directly to capital reserve. Here, even if the grant is in the nature of promoter's contribution, it will be routed through P&L account. Every grant in this standard will be routed through P&L account. This government grant should be recognized in P&L account on a systematic basis over the period in which the entity recognizes as expense the related cost for which the grant is intended to compensate. So the standard says grant should be recognized in P&L account over a number of years. Which number of years? The number of years over which this grant is expected to compensate you. Government says provide job to workers for 3 years and we will give you 50,000 rupees grant, which means this 50,000 is expected to compensate me for 3 years. So I am going to recognize it over 3 years. Is it right? So if the factory in backward area has a life of 20 years, government gave me a grant, I will recognize it over 20 years, like that. Where receipt basis is permissible. When will you follow receipt basis? Recognition of government grant in P&L account on a receipt basis is not as per the accrual accounting assumption and would be acceptable only if no basis existed for allocating a grant to period other than the one in which it was received. So therefore the standard says do not follow cash approach, receipt approach, unless you don't have any other basis of allocation. Do not follow receipt approach. Nature of government grant. Now again there is a difference between AS20 and AS12 which you have studied and come to this place. Under AS20, all government grant, you have to identify whether it is related to income or whether it is related to asset. Grant, when you receive the grant, you have to identify, is it GRI or is it GRA? What is GRI? Grant related to income, grant related to asset. If you buy a machine, government will give you 10% grant. 10% of the cost of the machine will be given to you. Then it is a grant related to asset. Okay. So accounting treatment of government grant will depend on the classification. So what I will have to do in every question that I will read, where do I stand? Is it GRA or is it GRI? So first is grant related to asset. Now they have defined what is grant related to asset. If it is not grant related to asset, then by default, it will become grant related to income. So there are only two possibilities, day or night. If it is not day, then it is night. If it is not GRA, it is GRI. No need to apply conditions for GRI. So what is GRA? GRA are government grants whose primary condition is, what is primary? Main condition. And this is easy for you to check in every problem. Whose primary or main condition is, what is the main condition? Entity qualifying for them, that is those entities which are eligible, should either purchase or construct or otherwise acquire, in any manner purchase, construct or acquire long-term assets. Acquire long-term asset. So if it is related to ACP of LTA, ACP means acquisition, construction, purchase. Acquisition, construction, purchase of long-term asset. So long-term asset will be basically your items of PPE, intangible assets. Okay. Where you get the grant? Otherwise, why will government give me grant? If I buy shares of Reliance Industries Limited for 3 years, if I want to hold it, will government give me grant? What government will get benefit out of it? So usually it is for items like PPE and intangible assets, where the government also indirectly gets benefit because you are promoting employment or health facilities or education or medical, etc. Subsidiary conditions may also be attached. Some government may also put additional conditions, subsidiary. Like for example, restricting the type of the asset you have to use. So you have to use equipment which are non-polluting. Okay. You have to use a certain type of machine only. Or this is important, or where that asset has to be located. These are called subsidiary condition, which may put restriction on the type of the asset, location of the asset, or the period during which they are to be acquired or held. In Ind AS 41 we will see, although it is exempted from this standard, but it deals with government grant. Government says we will give you the grant, we will give you this land, but for 5 years you have to do farming of a specified herb or crop only. So that means there is a condition of 5 years of farming on that land, then that land will be given to you. Okay. So the location can be a restriction, type of asset can be a restriction, the number of years of use can be a restriction. Example of such grant: subsidy received on purchase of plant and machinery by companies belonging to specific industries. Like nowadays, those companies which are into uh, using e-vehicles or solar panels, wind energy, biotechnology, vaccine, they get, and many other, clean energy, renewable energy, they get subsidy. They get subsidy. Now what about the accounting treatment? Although the standard is quite long, we have divided this into 4 columns, and that will give you complete idea about the accounting treatment of government grant received related to asset. So what is my topic right now? Accounting treatment of GRA. Accounting treatment of GRA. And then there are 2 possibilities. You may directly receive subsidy in the form of cash. Cash means you will get bank account debit. So one entry is going to be here, bank account debit. When you receive the grant in cash, bank account debit. The question will be, where should credit be given? Is it right? What is the treatment of the grant, that is credit effect? So one method is called gross approach, and second method is called net approach. So what is gross? Government grant is recognized as deferred grant. So the entry here will be bank account debit to deferred. This is the entry we will also write, to deferred government grant account. Do not credit the asset, credit deferred government grant, and then you will transfer deferred government grant to P&L account every year. Okay. In the ratio of compliance. Now remember, this is a grant related to asset. Asset can be of 2 types, depreciable or non-depreciable. If it is depreciable asset like machine, then this will be transferred in the ratio of depreciation. Ratio of depreciation means you have to prepare a depreciation chart. That means if this is the asset of 100 rupees, life is 20 years, method is SLM, then your life is easy. Even the grant will be on SLM basis, equal amount over 20 years. But if the method is WDV, then you have to prepare a depreciation chart up to 20 years. You will get some depreciation figure here. Yes or no? In this ratio, this grant will also be recognized. If it is WDV method, your work will increase, because in the same ratio, the grant will also be recognized. And if you change the method of depreciation, you will also change the method of allocating the grant. Is it right? First 10 year you follow SLM, so this also will be SLM. Then you start following WDV, this will also be in the ratio of WDV. So that is the point number 3. We are going to take question on this very soon. But if the grant is related to land, now there is a problem. Land is not depreciated. So then it will be depreciated in the ratio of building, because the land will be used for construction of some building. So it will be apportioned in the ratio of building. So you will say, suppose grant is received on 1st January 2021. building was constructed on 1st February 2022. So for this period, grant will remain in grant account only. No transfer will take place to P&L account. But once the building is constructed, grant will be charged to P&L account in the ratio of depreciation of building. In the ratio of depreciation of the building is constructed on that land, so building's depreciation will be used. So that is for method 1. Second is what you usually do when you receive the grant, bank account debit to asset account. That is called net method. Bank account to asset account. So what is the effect of this entry? It will reduce the value of the asset. If it reduces the value of the asset, depreciation charge will reduce. So depreciation to asset, and then the depreciation will be charged on cost minus grant credited minus any residual value divided by number of years. In the P&L account, whether you follow method 1 or method 2, the charge will be same. True or false? True. I will show you. Just don't write. If I follow method 1, I will have two accounts. PP account, 100 rupees purchased. Grant account, 10 rupees grant received. I will transfer depreciation 10 to P&L account. I will transfer P&L account grant 1 in the same ratio. In the P&L account, I will have depreciation 10 less grant 1, 9. Now suppose I follow net approach, don't write, we'll solve questions. To bank 100, by bank grant received 10. By bank grant received 10. By depreciation 100 minus 10 divided by 10 years, 9. This is P&L account. To depreciation 9. So you will see whether I follow approach number 1, method 1 or method 2, charge in P&L account will be same. But balance sheet asset figure here will be 90. Under this approach, the asset figure will be 110, 9, how much is that? 81. 81. And in first method, grant will appear as a liability 9. So again in balance sheet if I see, PPE 90, grant liability 9, 81 is the net effect. Here directly 81. Now some company may want to show a higher value of PPE in the balance sheet. Just they may prefer that method 1. Higher PP balance gives a relaxation. Okay, lenders feel secured. So that is why they have given both the approaches. Now next is in kind. Directly the government has given you the asset. There are two approaches here also. Fair value, nominal value. What is fair value approach? The asset will be recorded at fair value. The asset will be recorded at fair value. Like a machinery, fair value is 10 crore. Fair value is 10 crore. And the government gave you for only 1 crore. The government gave you only for 1 crore, or the government gave you for 0, free of cost. Both possibilities are there. Either they may have given you at a very low amount or just free of cost. So what I'll do, I will pass the entry at 10 crore only. I'll pass the entry at 10 crore. Suppose entry will be asset account debit 10 crore. If I have paid this amount to bank 1 crore and to deferred grant 9 crore, because 9 crore is the grant. An asset whose value is 10, government is giving me for 1, so 9 crore is the grant. And what if the government has given me free of cost? Asset account 10 crore, to bank nothing, to deferred grant 10. And this deferred grant will be transferred to P&L account over a number of years. Is it right? But institute has allowed one more approach, nominal value approach. Nominal value approach means you don't have to record at fair value, you have to record it at the amount that you have paid. In case if you have paid something and if you have not paid anything, zero amount you have paid, then at a nominal amount of 1 rupee, 2 rupees, is it right? Like suppose I have paid 1 crore for an asset whose fair value is 10 crore, then I will pass the entry for 1 crore only. Asset account debit 1 to bank account 1. If I have not paid anything, this was crore, then I will pass the entry asset account debit rupee 1 to, maybe you can credit P&L account 1. 1 rupee does not make any difference whether you credit P&L account or deferred income or whatever. Does 1 rupee make a difference? The idea is to bring the asset in the books of account, so that in your property, plant, equipment schedule you will have this asset and you will disclose that this was out of government grant, this was received out of government grant. If I don't pass this entry, this asset will not reflect in the balance sheet. Such assets are not depreciated because they are at nominal amount. What will you depreciate 1 rupee? Is it right? Deferred grant will remain in deferred grant account only. Deferred grant will remain in, suppose you credit 1 rupee to deferred grant account or 10 rupees, so it will remain in that account only. How does it matter? You can revalue it subsequently. As per Ind AS 16, if the revaluation conditions are satisfied, then you can revalue it. So under Ind AS 16, the whole class of the asset has to be revalued. Revaluation should not be selective. You should be able to find the fair value of the asset to be revalued. Asset should be revalued with subsequent significant regular frequency. So if all those conditions are satisfied, subsequent revaluation of these assets can be done. Next is presentation of government grant related to asset. What is the entry we have passed? Bank account debit to, suppose we have taken this option, deferred grant account. So this deferred grant will appear in the balance sheet as NCL or CL, current liability, non-current liability. That amount which you think will be transferred to P&L account in the next 12 months, will be realized in the next 12 months, current, and others will be non-current. So check out of this total deferred grant, how much will be recognized in P&L account in the next 12 months. That portion is current, remaining is non-current. Why it is shown as a current liability or non-current liability? Because this is an obligation on the company to fulfill the conditions. Is it right? And if they don't fulfill, they have the obligation to repay, refund that amount. In case the asset is shown at net value, suppose I follow net approach, I don't have government grant account only. If I follow method 2, bank to PPE, no government grant, matter close. What about the statement of cash flow? Do you know cash flow statement has 3 activities? OIA, operating, investing, financing activity. You have received the government grant. You used it to buy a fixed asset. That money was used to buy fixed asset, PP, or intangible asset. So there are 2 cash flows involved here. I received the grant, cash inflow. I bought an asset, cash outflow. So you have to guess, and you can guess it right. You received the grant which helped you to acquire an asset. Where will you show that inflow if it is cash inflow? If you receive cash inflow for acquiring an asset, where will you put it? It will come in financing activity. Simple. If you take a loan to buy an asset, where is loan taken shown? Financing activity. So here also same thing is happening. It's not a loan, it's a grant. But the objective is to buy an asset. If I issue share capital to buy an asset, where is share capital shown? Financing. This is financing. And the purchase of asset. Here I am making an investment in the long term asset. That is outflow. Okay. So whether you follow, now keep in mind, whether you follow gross approach or net approach, in cash flow statement, the treatment is going to be the same. Grant received, inflow in financing activity, asset purchased, investment activity. You will say I am following net approach. So I will show net amount as outflow. Can you do that? No, you can't do that. Even in net approach, under cash flow statement, it will be shown separately financing activity, grant received, investing activity, asset purchased. Okay. Now we will solve question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So up to 8 number we will go non-stop. Okay. Where the answers are not printed, you will write in the notebook. Where it is already printed, enjoy. An entity opens a new factory and receives a government grant of 15,000 in respect of the capital equipment costing rupees 1 lakh. So tell me, is it GRA or GRI? GRA, it is related to purchasing a capital equipment. Then we have to see, is it a cash grant or a non-cash grant? Cash or non-cash? Cash grant. Read and answer properly. Otherwise the teacher will go into suicidal mode. It receives a government grant of rupees 15,000. So this is a cash grant in cash. Okay. It depreciates plant and machinery at 20% per annum on straight line basis, which means the life of the asset is 5 years. 20% depreciation rate under SLM means life is 5 years. Show the statement of P&L account and balance sheet extract in respect of the grant for the first year. Presentation only for the first year under both the methods of Ind AS 20. Both method means gross approach and net approach. So first write down A. Check the answer. Is it printed in the book? Oh, format is printed. So that the student will have also involvement, participation. Okay. Write down. Answer in the book only. Those who have the hard copy of the notes. Others will write in notebook everything. when grant is treated as deferred income, when grant is treated as deferred income, statement of profit and loss and extract, what you'll do, depreciation will be full. Depreciation will be on the entire cost of the equipment, 1 lakh. So 20% of 1 lakh. And the deferred grant 15,000 will also be apportioned over 5 years equally. So that also you take 20% of 15,000. How much is that? 3,000. Then you will come to that working note printed little below. Working note printed below. Government, deferred government grant account by government, by cash received 15,000 to P&L account. This also will take same rate 20%, or you can take 1/5. 1/5 is okay. And to balance carried down 12,000. So this will appear in balance sheet, liability side. Now come back to balance sheet presentation. In balance sheet presentation, if I am following gross approach, asset side will show non-current asset, PPE 1 lakh less accumulated depreciation 20,000. Do you agree? Then write down net amount 80,000. Non-current liability, deferred government grant. Now I am going to ask you a question. The total balance carried forward you have written in that ledger is 12,000. So you have to now tell me, out of that 12,000, how much is current and how much is non-current? Out of 12,000, 3,000 is current, because again next year I am going to recognize 3,000 in the P&L account. So if 3,000 is current, what is non-current? 9,000. So write down in this central column, 12,000 is the balance in grant account, but 3,000 I am going to show it in current liability. So 9,000. Current liability, government grant 3,000. 3,000 will be recognized in the next 12 months. So this is how you will do the presentation under the first approach, that is called gross approach. Government grant is treated as deferred income. Now come below, when the grant is deducted from the cost of the asset, statement of profit and loss account and extract, depreciation, just will provide depreciation now. How much depreciation I am going to provide? PPE was purchased for 1 lakh. Grant is credited to the PP account. So it means now the balance is 85,000 into 20%. Come on. 17,000. So PP depreciation 17,000. Single line item here, and then below balance sheet. In balance sheet we have non-current asset PPE, property plant equipment value, the cost will get reduced. To 85,000 now, less accumulated depreciation 17,000. Right below balance 68,000, write down. So this is a, let's say, 4-mark question. This way you have to write the answer. They are just checking your basic knowledge of Ind AS 20. Now write down the next answer in the notebook. Question number 2. Nischit Limited has acquired a generator on 1/4/19 for rupees 50 lakh. 1/4/19 he purchased generator, and 2nd April it applied to IREDA. What is the full form? Indian Renewable Energy Development Authority, okay, for a subsidy of 10% as the cost of generator was using solar energy. The subsidy was granted on June 2019 after the accounts for the year were finalized. The company has not accounted for the subsidy for the year ended 31st March 19. Give your views on the following. So now they have received the grant in June 2019 after the accounts for the year was finalized. After the accounts for the year was finalized. How the subsidy would be accounted in the accounting year 1920. So we are also in the year 1920 only. Is it right? So uh, should should not be a problem. Write down method 1. The subsidy should be treated as deferred income. The subsidy should be treated as a deferred income. And allocated over the remaining useful life in the proportion in which depreciation is charged. The one method is deferred grant income approach. First you credit it to deferred government grant account, and then from here you will recognize it in P&L account over the life of this asset in the ratio of the depreciation. Have they spoken anything about the depreciation of this asset? Is the depreciation mentioned in the problem? Is the life of the asset mentioned in the problem? So we will not do anything. Student will ask a question. It says the subsidy was granted in June after the accounts were finalized. Company has not accounted for the subsidy for year ended 31st March 19. That is okay. Why will I account in this year? Do I need to do accounting for year ended 31st March 19? No. I have purchased the asset on 1/4. I have applied on 2nd April. The grant was finalized somewhere in June. So why I need to do the accounting for 31st March? Question is also useless. Is it right? I will do the accounting in this year only. That is 1/4/19 to 31st March 20, which is what we have done. So this is method 1. Now write down method 2. Question is silent about either the useful life of the asset or the depreciation rate. So therefore we will not provide for either depreciation or transfer of grant to P&L account. Method 2, right? Deduct the grant in carrying amount of the asset. Deduct the grant in calculating the carrying amount of the asset. Right hand side rupees in lakhs. Right hand side rupees in lakhs. Bank account debit 5 to PPE account 5. Bank account debit 5 to PPE account 5, bracket, the book value is reduced by rupees 5 lakh. The book value is reduced by rupees 5 lakh. One more line write down, the depreciation will be charged. The depreciation will be charged on reduced carrying amount, that is 50 minus 5 rupees 45 lakhs. 45 lakh. That's it. Now come to question number 3. This 2 number is not very important for exam purpose, okay? They don't ask such questions. This is just for understanding. A fixed asset was purchased for rupees 10 lakh. Government grant received 4 lakh. Show the accounting treatment if it is a depreciable asset with 2 lakh residual value. In this question we are given residual value also and 4 years useful life. The company uses straight line method of depreciation. Now this question is not clear. Which method will the company follow? Because if it is a grant related to a depreciable asset, we have two choices. Either you treat it as a deferred grant or reduce the PP account balance. Okay. So I am going to give you both the answers. Method 1, write down. Method 1. Credit the grant as deferred income. Credit the grant as deferred income. Credit the grant as deferred income. Right hand side, rupees in lakh. Rupees in lakh. Then write down the entry. Entry for grant received. Bank account debit to deferred government grant account. Being grant received. Being grant received. Being grant received. Then write a note. Note. Grant has to be recognized. Grant has to be recognized in profit and loss account, in P&L account, in the ratio of depreciation. Grant is to be recognized in P&L account in the ratio of depreciation over the life of the asset. Over the life of the asset. Over the life of the asset. What is the life of the asset? 4 years. What is the method of depreciation? Straight line. So don't you think this 4 lakh will also be recognized? 1 lakh in each year over the 4-year period. Write down. Deferred government grant account debit. Deferred government grant account debit 1. How did you get 1? 4 divided by 4 years. To P&L account 1. To P&L account 1. Write narration being deferred grant recognized. Being deferred grant recognized. Then we'll go to method 2. Method 2. Deduct the grant. Method 2 is called deduct the grant in calculating carrying amount of the asset. Deduct the grant in calculating the carrying amount of the asset. First entry, write down. Bank account debit. Bank account debit. Bank account debit 4 lakh to PPE account 4 lakh. To PPE account 4 lakh. Write down being grant received. Grant received and credited to PPE account and credited to PPE account. Grant received and credited to PPE account. Then write a note. Write a note. The book value is reduced. The book value is reduced to rupees 6 lakh. The book value is reduced to rupees 6 lakh. The estimated scrap value is rupees 2 lakh and life 4 years and life 4 years. Hence depreciation to be charged on this asset every year will be, how much will be the depreciation on this asset? 6 minus 2 divided by 4 is equal to 1 lakh. Depreciation to be charged on this asset every year, 6 minus 2, 6 is your revised cost after deducting grant, 2 is the residual value, divide by 4 years. So you are getting 1 lakh. Next entry for depreciation. Now depreciation will reduce. So I am going to show that also. Second entry, write down, entry number 2. Write neatly. These are 4 marks question in the exam, taken from old exams only. Some questions are taken from AS12, which are still applicable in Ind AS 20 also. Okay, so don't worry. So what is the answer now? Depreciation account debit to accumulated depreciation account 1 rupees in lakhs. Done. One more question for you. Question number 2 square 4. Mr. X set up a new factory in the backward area and purchased plant for rupees 500 lakhs for the purpose. Purchases were entitled for the input credit of rupees 10 lakh. Purchases were entitled for input credit of 10 lakh. So 500 minus 10, 490. And also government agreed to extend the 25% subsidy for the backward area development. The company follows a policy of recognizing income out of the grant in the proportion of depreciation. So this time, this is the accounting policy choice they have given. This time don't write 2 answers. They have chosen which policy? Gross policy. The grant received will be first credited to deferred income. That is the meaning of this line. And then recognizing income out of the grant in the ratio of depreciation. Determine the depreciable value of the asset. Determine the depreciable value of the asset. First you will try. It's just 1 line answer. Depreciable value. So there are 2 possible answers. Some students will take 5 minus 10, 500 minus 10 and minus 25% also. Which is right? This is right. Because I am not crediting the grant to PP account. So why I will reduce my PP account? Is it right? So the answer is 490. Write down the heading first. Calculation of depreciable amount. Calculation of depreciable amount. Calculation of depreciable amount. Right hand side rupees in lakh. Right hand side rupees in lakh. First point A, cost of the plant 500 less input credit 10. Therefore depreciable amount 490. Then write a note. The grant received will be recognized in profit and loss account the grant received will be recognized in P&L account over the life of the asset, in the proportion of depreciation. Okay, done. Now question number 5. Good news. The answer is there, I think. Just check. Only understand. Later on you do it as homework if you want. Only understand in the class. A company purchased on 1st April 2010 special purpose machinery for rupees 1 crore and received central government subsidy for 25% of the price. Wonderful. Effective life of the asset is 8 years. Company follows a policy of recognizing income out of the grant in the proportion of depreciation. Explain the accounting treatment. What is the policy this company have chosen? This line gives you the answer. Company follows a policy of recognizing income out of the grant in the proportion of depreciation. So will I write two answers or only one answer? So will I depreciate 1 crore or will I depreciate 75 lakh? 1 crore, because I am not going to credit the asset. So 1 crore, and what is the life of the asset? 8 crore. So 1 crore divided by 8 years, 12.50 lakhs. Grant will be 25% of 1 crore, 25 lakh, divided by 8 years, 25 by 8, 3 point. So this is the answer. Depreciation will be charged 12.50 lakh and grant will be credited to P&L account every year 3.125 lakh. What is the method of depreciation they have given? Not given? Then assume straight line method, or you want to assume WDV? No, I know. This time I am not dictating the answer, it's already there. Grant related to depreciable assets are treated as deferred income, which is recognized in P&L account on a systematic and rational basis over the useful life of the asset. Such allocation to income is usually made over the period and in the proportion in which depreciation on the related asset is charged. Accordingly, machine will be recorded at rupees 1 crore, depreciation will be charged at 12.5 lakh per annum on straight line basis, and government subsidy of 25 lakh will be first credited to deferred income, and from there every year 3.125 lakh will be charged to or credited to P&L account. Is it right? Now we are going to take an important question number 6. Question number 6, write down important. Sorry. 1 is important, 6 is important. On 1st June 20x1, C Limited received written confirmation from a local government agency. C Limited, on which date? 1st June. It is written confirmation from a local government agency. Local government agency is also a government as per the standard, yes or no? That it would receive 1 million grant towards the purchase of a new office building. So tell me, is it a GRA or GRI? Grant is related to purchase of a new office building. Grant related to asset. Is it a grant in cash or grant in kind? Cash, 1 million. This is grant in cash. So you have two options, two ways to do the accounting. The grant becomes, now see, the grant becomes receivable on the date that C Limited transfers 10 million purchase price to the vendor. So this is the condition for receiving the grant. Although the government said we will give you the grant, but the grant will become receivable when? Grant will become receivable when the company C transfers rupees 10 million purchase price to the vendor. Vendor means the person who is going to construct this new office building for you. Okay, because you also have to show some commitment. On 1st October 20x1, C paid rupees 10 million in cash for the new office building. So this is the date when you transfer 10 million to the vendor. So this is the date, that is 1st October, that you are going to recognize grant receivable. On accrual basis we can recognize. Government grant receivable 1 million will be recognized on 1st October, not on 1st of June, okay, which is estimated to have a useful life of, oh my god, 50 years. Building has a life of 50 years. Then on 1st December 20x1, building was ready for use. Building was ready for use means here we have given the advance for building. Then the construction took place and now the building is ready for use. So depreciation will start from 1st December? Yes or no? Depreciation meter will start from 1st December. C Limited received the government grant on 1st January 20x2. So this is the date when you will receive the grant. You will pass the entry bank to grant receivable. And on 1st October you will pass the entry, 1st October, I will write here, grant receivable account debit to government grant. Okay, so government grant we will bring in the book on 1st October, and then this is the actual receipt date. Required, discuss the possible accounting treatment of the above in the financial statement of C Limited for the year ended 31st December 20x1. So there are two ways to solve this problem. One, you can follow gross approach, and second you can follow the net approach. Okay, right. Accounting treatment of grant. Check the recognition condition. Recognition condition is the company must make a payment to the vendor. Expectation to receive the grant was on 1/6, but will you account on this date? The answer is no. Expected to comply with the condition was satisfied on 1st October. So the grant will be recognized in the books on 1st of October. Now past journal entries in your book only. Those who have the hard copy of the notes, I have drawn the format to save time. The syllabus is very vast. You will not know right now. You will know only when it is complete. Many seasons would have changed. In many state government, the CMs would have changed. But our FR will not get over. Okay. So entry number 1, on 1st October we paid advance to the vendor. How much advance we paid? Second paragraph, 10 million. So entry will be advance for building account debit 10 million, rupees in million, write down, rupees in million, to bank account 10 million, to bank account 10 million being advance paid for construction of building. Do you agree? Okay. Next is grant receivable account debit. So now you can recognize the grant on accrual basis. 1 million to government grant account, 1 million being grant recorded. Then you write a note here which I have done for you. Alternatively, method 2 allows grant to be deducted from the asset. Alternatively, what we can do, we can deduct the grant from the asset. Now what happened on 1/12/20x1, the building got over. The building got over. So we will transfer the advance paid for building to building account. Is it right? So write down the entry, building account debit 10 to advance for building. Earlier it was only an advance. Now it is building. So advance will be transferred to building, being building constructed. Then what is the year ending date? What is the year ending date? 31st December 0x1. Yes, it is given in the question. 31st December, I am going to provide depreciation. Depreciation on building 10, life 50 years, number of years completed. Between 1st December and 31st December, just 1 year. So tell me what will be depreciation? 10 million divided by 50 years into 1 divided by 12 months. 1 month only. 1 month only. Check the answer. 0.01667. If you are writing in million, then this is the answer. Being depreciation charged. At the same time, you will do one more thing. Government grant which was deferred will also be credited to P&L account. Whether you receive it or not, accrual basis will continue. So 1 divide by 50, again divide by 12. So an answer will be 0.000 or 01. I think there is one more zero. Yes, 0.00167. Before that there is a depreciation we are transferring to P&L account, right? So that is same. That is right. Depreciation we have transferred to P&L account. P&L account to depreciation. Now tell me deferred grant 0.001667 to P&L account. This is right. I have given correct sequence in your book. Okay. And now one more entry. You have received the grant on which date? You have received the grant on which date? 1st January 20x2. So we will pass an entry, bank account debit 1 million to grant receivable 1 million, being grant received. Being grant received. Just go through the question and go through the answer again, because it can be something around a 5 to 8 mark question in the exam. Maybe 5 marks only. Got it? This answer is over. Now we'll solve one more question. Yes or no? Okay, one more. Question number 7. Quickly. It's very small question. Moon Limited has received a grant of rupees 2 lakh towards purchase of equipment. So this is GRA costing 10 lakh, useful life 4 year. The grant is conditional upon certain employment targets. The accountant is of the view that the asset should be recorded net of amount received from government grant, and accordingly reduce grant received from the cost of the asset and present the net amount in the balance sheet. Has he done the right thing? Yes. This is called method 2. This is called method 2 because that is allowed by this standard. In this question he has adopted method 2, credit the grant to asset account. The working of the same for presenting in the balance sheet is given below. So they have done everything, you don't have to worry. Cost 10 lakh, grant 2 lakh, net 8 lakh, depreciation 2 lakh. Net block 6 lakh. Required analyze whether the above accounting treatment made by the accountant is in compliance with Ind AS. If not, advise the correct treatment. So the answer is this is right. So if this is right, there is no need to advise the correct treatment. Yes or no? So just write down 1 or 2 lines only, this much only. 2 methods of presentation. But you can't just write yes in the exam for a 4 marks. You need to explain that in this standard there are 2 methods allowed. 2 methods of presentation. 2 methods of presentation in the financial statement of grant. 2 methods of presentation in the financial statement of grants. Or the appropriate portions of grant related to assets are regarded as acceptable alternatives. One method recognizes the grant as deferred income that is recognized in profit or loss on a systematic basis over the useful life of the asset. The other method deducts the grant. In calculating the carrying amount of the asset. The grant is recognized in profit or loss. Over the life of a depreciable asset. As a reduced depreciation expense. Therefore, the accountant has done the correct accounting treatment. This much you have to write in the exam for a 4-mark question. Is it right? Explain the provisions of the standard. There are 2 methods, method 1, method 2, and then in this question, this accountant has followed method 2, which is an acceptable method under Ind AS 20. Now we will continue tomorrow.